Shock Monkey Radio is created by adults for entertainment purposes. The views and opinions expressed here do not reflect the sponsors or FXPG Public Radio. For additional information, refer to the U.S. Bill of Rights. Stand warned. Anyway, Centaur Sex. So I was talking with EK and Scott Wharton a couple weeks ago now. I'm surprised this conversation hadn't come up yet. But we're talking about centaurs. You know, the half human, half horse thing. So it's a terrifying creature. Monsters, to be sure. Terrifying creature are centaurs. But, you know, if they do exist, which they don't, if they did exist and they did have sex, because you would assume that they're a mammal of some sort, even if a hybrid mammal. It's like a platypus in many ways. And so it's, so it would have sex. Centaurs would have sex. Now, I just want to point out that a centaur is half horse and half human, but it's at a right angle to each other. So sex between centaurs has got to be weird. Let's talk about foreplay at first. Right off the top, you got to say, like, brushes have to be involved in some way. Number two, like, the foreplay would all happen like face to face, you know, and they're all, you know, like, you do the kissing and the touching and stuff like that. Then when it's time for the act, you got to, like, jostle around in the pen, you know, in the crate, in the metal box that we keep these monsters in. All right, and so they got to jostle around, and then the male gets on top, I guess, and then he's sitting there looking at the sky, staring at the sun, because he's at an angle like this, a 45-degree angle, and then another 45-degree angle, and so he's just looking at the sun, or maybe he's looking right down past his stomach, to see the top of her head. I don't know. It seems like a weird Tetris-like puzzle, the idea of these creatures having sex. So I don't understand. Like, could they even 69? Think about I think it's physically impossible for them to do that because of the right angles. Yeah. Ugh, why am I thinking about all this again? And yeah, how would oral sex work? You know, I guess you could work it out, but you know, the guy gets up on stands up his front legs up on a rock, and she goes down under him, or maybe she goes, ugh, why this? You know, this has been boggling my mind since we had this conversation over the last couple of weeks. Maybe that's why it took so long for me to address it, is because I'm still trying to wrap my head around the idea of centaurs having sex. Thank God they don't really exist. And so the only conclusion that I can come to about this centaurs and why they exist, even in fiction, is that the Greeks came up with this thing specifically for these kinds of absurd conversations. You know how the Greeks were. Let's talk about half horse, half human things banging.